Hey folks, Levi here once again. Welcome back to another video. I hope you all enjoy my thoughts and favorite episodes of Superman the Anime Series, Volume 1, 2, and 3, which are on my channel right now, and the TV show collection I did for Superman the Anime Series. But now, continuing my Superman marathon, we're talking about the Superman TV shows. Now we're getting to a show that I've always enjoyed. You know, I did do a TV show collection for it back in 2014, back when I started out on my channel. There's a playlist to that. I will let you guys know about that a little later. But anyway, and of course, I am now talking about my favorite show starring Tom Welling, and a really good cast here, and that is a show called, Smallville. This video will be called My Thoughts / Favorite Episodes of Smallville, Season 1. So, and I've written down my favorite episodes of this season, by the way, just to let you guys know. And you have your cast here. You have Tom Welling, like I said. You have Kristen Crook. I can't say it. As Tom Welling. Michael Rosenbaum as Lex Luthor. John Schreiner from The Dukes of Hazzard as Bo Duke. Played Bo Duke. Plays Jonathan Kent. And Terminator 2, who played Lana Lang in Superman 3, plays Martin Kent in this show. Sam Jones as Pete Ross. And Allison Mack, despite what she did in real life, I don't want to talk about that, as Chloe Sullivan. So yeah, and here's a picture of the cast right here. Very good. In the back. And just all the disc and the booklet right here for all the episodes. And here's a picture of Clark, Lex, and Lana. So, yeah. But give my thoughts on this season, on this whole entire show. I love Smallville. I've always enjoyed the show. Some people don't like it, and that's fine. I guess you can say it's not a show for everybody. Yeah, it's not the greatest show in the whole wide world. The show I do have issues with, but I've always enjoyed it. I always felt that the writing was good. I like that. Basically, what Smallville's about. So I guess I can tell you guys if you've never seen the show. The series recounts the early adventures of Kryptonian Clark Kent as he is developing superpowers in the fictional town of Smallville, Kansas. During the years before, may I say that again, before he becomes Superman, because people complained about Clark now flying in this. Well, folks, this is basically a prequel to the Superman franchise before Clark Kent becomes the Man of Steel. This is where you see him in high school. He's a freshman in high school in here, so he's real young. But what I thought of the first season is I love it. I really enjoyed it. It really had all favorite episodes of mine. Some I thought were okay, but I really enjoyed this season. I had fun with it. It was really good. I think the writing and the script is really good. I think it's just really good. It's, in my opinion, it's definitely original. For me, Tom Welling really captures the spirit of Christopher Reeve, and he's definitely a lot better than Brandon Routh, in my opinion, and Dean Cain, in my opinion. Because I think he's great as Clark Kent. To me, he is the kind of the Superman of the Christopher Reeve Superman films. Oh, in the show, I mean. He's not Superman in the show, but he was kind of, he just felt like kind of a very younger version of Christopher Reeve to me. But he did it in Justice Way, because Season 2, Christopher Reeve would guest star Annette, so it's like kind of passing the torch in Season 2, but we'll get to that when we get to Season 2. But Season 1 was just great, really good in my opinion, so let's get into it. Okay, I'll say what the season was about. Season 1, this season focuses on Martha and Jonathan Kent's attempts to help their adopted son Clark Kent cope with his alien origin and control his developing superhuman abilities. Clark also must deal with the meteor-infected individuals who, when he came from Krypton, which he doesn't know that yet, by the way, in his spaceship, there was a meteor shower, and a lot of people got affected and got powers. So, and some of them are very dangerous and want to harm people, even harm his friends and his family, the people closest to him that he loves. Clark must deal with that began to pain small with his love for Lana Lang, and not being able to tell his two best friends, Pete Ross and Chloe Sullivan, about his abilities or his origins. Clark also befriends Lex Luthor after saving Lex's life after a car accident where he ran over Clark and Clark saved his life, so they become friends. This season also follows Lex as he tries to assert his independence from his father. Lionel Luthor, played by John Glover. John Glover has also worked with DC before. He was in Batman and Robin. I like Batman and Robin too. Yeah, he's up at the top in that movie. But he also voiced Edward Nygma, aka the Riddler, in Batman the Anime Series. And I believe he was in Shazam. Yeah. He was in RoboCop 2 as well, and Scrooge. I remember him in that. But yeah, I was right. Okay, yeah, he was in Shazam. Yeah. So he's worked with DC before. Alright, well I don't want to get into all that. I'll probably, in my TV show collection video called Part 13 Smallville, I'll probably talk about the history of the show then. I'm sure I did. But here I'm not going to talk about that. So I will start telling you my favorite episodes and okay episodes of Smallville Season 1. So, 5 minutes, almost 6 minutes in? Okay. Sorry if I look a little pale in the face. I went swimming on Sunday and I got some sun, so I got a little sun on me, so people can't tell. But, yeah. My webcam is good. Okay, I think it is, so let's get started. Okay. So I've got my episodes written down here for Smallville Season 1. Alright, starting with my favorite episodes. Okay, of course, and that is the first one, which is the episode called, which is the pilot episode, which is called Pilot, where that's where the show starts off. The show pretty much opens with, the pilot episode pretty much opens with a young Lex Luthor who is on a business trip with his father. I think he's about, 8 years old, I think, and he's got red hair, and he's closing his eyes because he's scared to look outside because he's scared of heights. And his, Lionel Luthor, who is his ruthless father, and also the reason Lex becomes the man he is, in the comics, is because of Lionel. But anyway, I was like, Lex, open your eyes. Luthors don't feel fear. You'll never get anywhere, son, if you have to close your eyes all the time. And Lex does eventually open his eyes, though. And we see Jonathan and Martha Kent, who, they've been married for a while, John Schrader and Antonio too, who, they want to have a baby. They're in a flower shop. A woman named Mill in there, and her young niece, Lana Lang, who she's watching. We see this young lady who is dressed up like a princess and gives her a wish. And, Jonathan's like, I know what you wish for, little face. They've been wanting to have a child for some time. But what ends up in the Smallville, which are, by the way, when I showed y'all the booklet, it's the Crows. That's what the Smallville team is called. But anyway, a meteor shower ends up hitting Smallville. Until they see a little boy in it, which a little boy finds them, and that, of course, they say, Martha, where did this kid come from? Where did he come from? They see his spaceship. I guess his parents are not around from here, so they try to eventually adopt him, and, we found him. He's like, and, Martha's like, no, Jonathan, we didn't find him. He found us, and just a nice picture of them, and just a really nice shot in there of when they found Clark. And then you get to 12 years later where Clark struggles to understand his identity. Well, again, he has superhuman strength and super speed. He misses the bus to go to school, so Clark just has, look on his face, and he decides to go, and he can run, and he beats them to school. And he says, as you get here, I just run real fast. Of course, he doesn't tell him a secret. He wants to talk to Lana, who he has always had a crush on, been in love with, but she has, of course, this green meteor rock on her, which weakens Clark. He always feels weakens by her. They don't know that it's kryptonite yet. So far in the show, it's not called kryptonite yet. But Clark is weakened by the meteor rocks. It just makes him feel sick when he gets around them, so he can't get around Lana without falling or tripping. But, like I said, he begins to have trouble with his identity. And, Chloe eventually tells him about the Wall of Weird. And, he's disappointed there. He's like, why didn't you tell me about this? Because there's a picture of Lana. And Lex Luthor eventually is played by Michael Rosenbaum. We see Lex going to Luthor Corp, which his father leaves him in charge of the plan. His father, he has like a nice castle in Smallville. As his father said, Smallville is his training to just prepare for Lex for the man he wants him to be, preparing for his future. And his test, of course, is Smallville. Lex just goes to his company. He's driving real fast on the road. Some trucker drops something on the road, and Lex is on his cell phone, looks up, and hits Clark dead on the bridge, hits Clark, and he's in the water, and Clark ends up, because of his strength, can break the door and saves Lex's life. And, Lex gets up, he's like, I could have sworn I hit you. He's like, you did. Something like that. And Jonathan shows up, who's been mad at him last night? He's like, me, sir. Lex Luthor was like, Ray Luthor. And Jonathan does not like Lex at all. Lex offers Clark a gift of a truck, gives him a truck, and Jonathan says, you can't just say people and set the word out of it. Luthor always wants something. He just doesn't trust the Luthors. He tells them about Lionel Luthor, that Lionel would shower people with gifts. Then he would steal from them or take their properties. That's what Luthor would do, just expect something or take something new from return, basically. That's the kind of people that the person that Lionel Luthor was, ruthless and just not a nice guy. But, they argue about normal, and Clark's like, really normal? And then he puts his hand on the wood chipper. He's like, I didn't dive in after Lex hit me. He's like, I'm not normal. And he's like, son, it's time to tell you the truth. He tells Clark that he's from another planet. And Clark just thinks he's joking at first. He's like, we found this on this symbol. We can't read it. We try to get some people to understand it, but we didn't want to tell you. And Clark's like, why didn't you tell me? We wanted to protect you. Basically what Jonathan both can. They're trying to protect Clark so that no government gets their hands on him. They're just basically just trying to protect him. That's their job because they love Clark. Clark is upset with them for a while. He sees Lana, who lost her parents. Yeah, she dates the high school quarterback here, the blonde guy there. Shit. The one that I'm pointing at right now. Winnie Foreman, who was, the high school jockey. He's the high school quarterback. He's the popular guy, and Lana's the cheerleader. But you find out there's a different side to her that, she's a little depressed and doesn't like living in Smallville very much, but she misses her parents a lot. And her and Clark have a talk, and they start to get along and have a conversation. She gives Clark a kiss, just a friendly kiss on the cheek. And Wendy sees this and becomes jealous, and eventually confronts Clark about it. And they make Clark the year Scarecrow. I forgot to mention, there's also a character named Jeremy Creek. He was a teenage boy who lived in the coma because during the first major shower this is why you see the picture here, the Scarecrow, where they hang you out in a crop field and hang you. Jeremy got hit by it, and he gets these kind of like electric powers, kind of like Electro from Spider-Man a little bit, where he starts to want to get revenge on people, and he, gives pictures of the old guys, finds them, tracks them down. He confronts one guy, he's like, that was a long time ago, man, you let that go, you freak. And then, of course, he attacks the guy, and he kills like 3 of the guys, and basically when he sees that Clark gets hung up, gets the Scarecrow, he thought that it would change. But Clark can't get out, hang out from being a Scarecrow because the kryptonite, or the Green Meteor rock, is on his neck of Dawn's necklace that weakens him, so he can't move. He's like, help me. He's like, I'm going to help you. I want to do this for all of us. I'm going to go to Smallville High and kill everybody there. And as he runs away, Jeremy runs off. Lex sees him, and Lex goes into the cornfield, and he just calls Phil. He's like, Clark, what you doing here? He's like, I got to get going. He runs off. Well, Lex doesn't see him, of course. He's like, Jeremy, you got to stop doing this. Jeremy tries to attack Clark, but his electric powers have no effect on Clark because remember Clark is very invulnerable because of his superhuman strength and his abilities. He pushes Jeremy away. Jeremy tries to drive a truck, hits Clark, but they hit a building. They get stuck in the truck. Is stuck in the building. Jeremy starts electrocuting, and the wall gets shocked. But Jeremy gets to shock himself. He forgets who he is, and Clark's like, Jeremy's like, who am I? I was like, I'm Clark Kent, you're Smallville. I just want to go home. Clark wanted to get a dance with Lana, but he couldn't get that dance because he had to save everybody. So he has to learn to become with his powers that he has to put his personal he has to make those kind of sacrifices sometimes. He does get back at Whitney, though. He puts his truck on top of, I think, like, electric poles, and Whitney gets mad about it. Clark, has a dance with Lana, well, imagines a dance with Lana. He's like, thanks for the dance, Lana. Lana was going home for the night in her prom dress, thinks she's here somebody, and then she just has, like, a smile on her face. And he's like, thank you, Lana, good night, and the episode ends there. But it was a really good way to open the show, in my opinion. The pilot episode was real good. So Jonathan and Clark have a talk, and Clark says, Dad, I'm glad that you found me. He's like, as Martha says, and he says to Clark, Jonathan says to Clark, no, Clark, we didn't find you, you found us. And then the episode ends. But a real good episode. I enjoyed the pilot episode. Really good way to start off the show, in my opinion. And then an episode called Metamorphosis, yes, where you have, in this episode, a guy named Craig Argan, who is a guy who likes to collect bugs. You found out that he was friends with Clark and Lex when they were, like, in 7th grade. He's a bit of I would say, a weirdo guy with ways at classes like me, but I don't have much of this on my face like he does. And he sends Lana a present she opens up the present and it's butterflies. He's really a guy that loves insects, and his mom comes home and says, is this what you've been doing? And he's got, like, videotapes. I guess he's been recording Lana, or I guess you could say stalking her for a while. And his mother says, you need help. I'm going to send you to this military school. He's like, Mom, yeah, send me there. He's like, he decides that he wants to leave. As Greg tries to leave his bugs, which have been infected with the green meteor rocks, the bugs get loose, and they attack him. He gets into a car. He wrecks his car into an electric pole, and it gives him, like, powers, bug abilities. He becomes a half-man, half-insect creature. When his mom tries to find him, he's like, he can hang to his wall like a spider. Eventually, he attacks his mom. He's like this: first I'll maul, then I'll eat, then I'll mate. Basically, he wants to mate with Lana. Then the family goes to, Clark also has a dream in the episode about flying and seeing Lana and saying, it's your fault, Clark. Clark does feel guilty, like it's his fault that the meteor happened, and Jonathan tells him it wasn't your fault. The episode was telling him, it's not your fault, Clark. What was I saying? Oh yeah. Well, Greg tries to talk to Lana about, help studying, like, in the library, and she says okay, but her, throughout the episode, Lex also tries to help out Clark and finds out that the green meteorite belongs to Lana, and is like, well, your boyfriend asked him what he was doing, and Lana goes to apologize for Clark about it, even though she shouldn't be the one apologizing. She gets mad at him, and of course Greg wants to talk to her more, and she's like, well, are you blowing me off? What are you blowing me off for? It's like, I'm not blowing you off, Craig. I'm just sorry. I can't deal with this right now. And eventually Craig decides that it's time, and after pretty much, like I said with his mother, he uses his bug abilities, kind of like a spider, and puts her in a web and kills his mother. And so he's like, you see him in the shower, and he's peeling a lot of his skin off. And he's like, Lana, it's time. Lana, eventually Whitney comes to apologize to Lana, but Greg shows up saying, Lana, it's time. And Greg's like, and Whitney's like, I'm tired of you, I'm gonna get you. And he tries to, like, attack him, but he pushes him out of the way. Greg pushes Whitney out of the way, and he grabs Lana, puts her up in a web. Clark is able to come in time. Well, he sees Whitney, and he's like, Whitney, let's go, where Greg goes, because I know where he's going to be. He tries to apologize to Clark, of course, with his powers. Whitney doesn't see it, but uses his super speed to run off to go save Lana. He's like, Lana, and he's like, what are you doing here, Clark? Look, Clark, I do whatever I want, when I want, and I can hurt whoever I want. He's like, I'm not going to let you hurt Lana. And they have a little, Clark is able to push him out of there. Of course, he runs to this steel mill, and the steel mill has green meteor rocks in it, which weakens Clark, so it gives Greg an opportunity to use his abilities to attack Clark. Clark is eventually able to fight back and pushes him, and Greg accidentally crushes himself under some mechanical equipment, resulting in a bunch of insects coming out of him. And Clark tries to go save Mullen, but it's too late, and when he ends up showing up. But overall, good episode. I enjoyed it. And then you have an episode called Hothead, another favorite of mine called Hothead, where you have a meteor rock, a guy named Coach Walt Arnold, who is the coach of the Crows, of the Smallville Crows football team. And basically he's been winning championships for a long time, and he wants to it's basically for his last season, so it'll be his last game, and he wants to do whatever it takes, and the coach has got a really bad temper on him, yells at Whitney on the football field, and until the new principal who's been there for 6 months, named Principal Kwan, says that, some of your students were cheating on a test, and because of that I'm going to expel them and they're not going to be allowed to play in the game. He's like, look, can we just let it slip for now, just handle this later? He's like, I'm not letting you eat. Principal Kwan's like, no, I'm not letting you do this to win a game. So no, coach, I'm sorry. Nobody talked about this. And he's like, you ruined this for me. And when Principal Kwan leaves, he's like, it's my legacy. I'm like, I don't care about your legacy. Principal Kwan tells him. And Coach, and Walt ends up, hitting the desk. And in a fit of rage, he causes a fire. Apparently he's been in his soapbox, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. But he gets infected by the meteor rocks, kind of in his own soapbox. He gets infected by the meteor rocks. It gives him the power to control fire. He does it. Coach Arnold definitely wants to win, so he helps the boys cheat, and he tells Coach Arnold this. Coach Arnold gets mad, he's like, what? You're not going to ruin this for me, and then he gets mad, puts the TV on fire, and then he realizes that, Coach Arnold decides to kill Principal Kwan. Kwan goes in his car to just leave, and he's able to just use his powers and tries to burn him up. Of course, Clark sees it and uses his super speed to get over there. Coach Arnold, by the way, sees Clark, catch a football with one of the players, wants to throw it at Chloe just to be funny. Clark back at him, hurting his stomach. He's like, come on, would you like to join our team camp? We can use it. I can use another linebacker. He's like, I'm sorry, Coach, but my dad. Pretty much Jonathan let Clark play football because of his powers. And after that, was like, Clark, I want you to join the football team. I'm not signing for permission slip, no. Because he's worried that Clark will hurt somebody. So that he don't trust Clark, but he's afraid that what if Clark got mad or tries to show off to a girl, and he gets somebody hurt. Of course, he does get on the football field a little bit. He tells his dad on the football field, Coach Arnold was like this, I'm coaching this team, not your dad. Give him a line, Kemp, and of course, Clark's got to use some of those abilities. It's not hurt anybody, but his dad's still upset about it. He's like, this does not think he should play football because of his abilities. But Chloe ends up finding stuff about it because, Chloe ends up getting pictures of Coach Arnold talking to his players, and it's got the wash players on. He's able to turn the wash players into fire, and he hits one of the players like, it was you, wouldn't it, Trevor? He's just a little weak link. And he tries to talk to Chloe, and Coach Arnold sees this and grabs him, his arm, and burns his arm. He's like, what'd you tell her about cheating, huh? You're not going to let me lose my game, Trevor. He's like, I didn't tell her nothing. It was Chloe that, that I was talking to, but I didn't tell her nothing. He's like, alright, go home, I'll handle this. He tries to burn up Chloe, she tries to print the story about him. He burns the computer and tries to kill Chloe, but Clark eventually rescues her. And they start investigating more, and they eventually find out that Coach Arnold, all those times that he is those Prometheus, or the power to control fire. Eventually, Clark confronts him about it on their game day, and Clark's like, "Hey, Coach," he's like, he's like, Kent, aren't you supposed to be in the field practice? And he's like, I'm not going out in that field, and neither are you, Clark tells him. And he's like, don't take me off, Kent. And then the meteor wrestles, Clark starts in the mirror, starts waking him. He's like, what's the matter, Kent? Can't feel a little bit of heat. And he punches Clark and throws him there and locks him in the soapbox. And Clark is weakened by the kryptonite of the green mirror rocks. And Jonathan and them wonder, Jonathan is kind of wondering where he's at. And, Chloe's like, he's lying. So they go in the soapbox, they get Clark out of the sweat box, sweat box. Coach Arnold attacks and knocks out Jonathan and tries to hit Clark, but Clark is able to use his powers to push him. Pushes him around more, and then he's like, try to use his fire ability, but of course Clark can just, basically Superman, like I said, is invulnerable. Well, he's not Superman yet, but he does have his power. He just walks through the fire, he's like, how'd you do that? He's like, grabs him, he's like, it's all in the genes. It's all in the genes, and then he throws him over the head, and he's like, he gets a little more fire, he's like, it's over, Coach, you lost. No legacy for you. And this Coach Arnold gets real pissed. He's like, gets pissed and, and basically burns himself alive. When he gets so angry, he burns himself and kills himself. Yeah. Alana also quit the cheerleading team, but Clark goes to football team. Her and Clark, they tell her how awkward it was, and they have like a little fun. They just scream about their problems at the end, which I thought was a funny ending. But Hothead was a good episode. I enjoyed it. And another episode called X-Ray. Now this is an episode where Clark, of course, like I said, starting with the show, starting with the pilot episode, he just has super strength and super speed, and he develops a new power called X-Ray vision, where, of course, Superman can't see through lead, but Clark is able to see through objects and things, see through walls and whatever, or can see through your hand and, see the skeleton of your body. When he begins to see this X-ray, when he sees Lex robbing the bank, Lex Luthor pretty much comes in, which we find that it's not Lex, it's a girl named Tina Greer, but before I get to that, Lex Luthor, is trying to, book bag and saying, I want all my money out. He's like, well, you've been doing Smallville Bank for 12 years, you and the Luthors, your father have. He's like, I want the money, and of course he says, Sinistro is not the same. He's like, give me the money. He points a gun at him. Clark sees him, and this strong Lex pushes him. Lex Luthor, you can see the kryptonite through Tina's body. Since Tina, has the meteor effects in her body, she can change into anybody. Yeah. Tina Greer can change into anybody. Her mother wants to get her help. She finds out that she stole this money, and by accident she kills her mother. By accidentally pushing her downstairs. Well, they have a fight. Her mother falls down the stairs. She's going to call the cops, but instead just looks herself in the mirror and was like, I can get away with this, and decides not to call the cops, and instead places her mother in her body in a cabinet or something like that, just to hide it, and pretends to be her mother. And Martha comes to the store, eventually sees it, and this is where Tina's worried about what, if Mrs. Kent will do something, if Martha would say something about it. So as Clark, she tries to run her over with a truck. It doesn't work. And of course, we find out Tina Greer is obsessed with Ronald Reagan. And she basically wants to move in with Lana, saying that her mother's going to live in Metropolis, but she wants to live with her. Lex pretty much hires a guy named Roger Nixon, who I think Nixon tries to blackmail Lex. I forget about what. I'm sorry if I forget certain things in their business talk. But tries to blackmail Lex and steal money from him. Lex eventually is able to blackmail him back. He's like, oh no, I'm not going to kill you, but I'm going to take your license away, your insurance, all this stuff, or your bank account. He tries to call his bank accounts out there. He's like, but unless you do something for me. And he hires him to find out what happened on the bridge. He shows him the core, because Lex does become friends with him. Him and Clark do start to become good friends, but Lex is starting to become a little obsessed with him, obsessed with finding out why he didn't die. You say Clark Kent is a mystery to him, and he's just trying to unpuzzle this mystery about Clark, find out why he didn't die, because he was supposed to be dead, and he lived, so he's just kind of obsessed with it. Meanwhile, Tina eventually is able to try to attack Lana. Clark shows up. They do fight a little bit, because she has super strength just like Clark. She's able to pretend to be Lana, disguise up as Lana, but she can do that, and kisses Clark, but tries to kill Clark. It doesn't work. She tries to kill him as Whitney, but Clark is able to knock her out, and she gets arrested by the cops. And Clark eventually learns to control his X-ray vision. He learns to use it, and he understands that he can see through things and help people a little faster, and use it, because he is able to use his X-ray vision to see Tina's mother's body in the cabinet, so he can use his X-ray vision. He learns to just self-control it and stuff, just to focus and control it, and he does good. I like it though when Jonathan says, "What do I have in my hand here?" to control it. He sees his your pocket knife. He's like, "Well, because you always have it in your pocket, Dad." He's like, "Oh." I thought that was funny, but it was a good episode. And seeing Clark, he will get more new powers as the show goes on. His powers eventually grow. But X-ray, and he also, when he's using the X-ray vision for the first time, when he goes crazy at school, when he's trying to climb up on the rope, he falls. He's ever seen the girls when he sees Lana change. He's like, every guy's dream, right? I'm just kidding. But it was a good episode. And then we have an episode called Cool, where you have a guy named Sean Calvin who is interested in Chloe, but he's a bit of a player. And they're at a place called Crater Lake. The lake is frozen. Him and Whitney and the football guy in the jocks are playing football. They end up throwing the football on the ice. Sean tries to go get it, but he's on the frozen lake, and eventually he falls in the frozen lake. He kind of dies at first, but you see that's green kryptonite. He's able to get the lake out in the morning, and he's kind of like, oh gosh. And this is what he ends up looking like. Might as well just leave it out, screw it. Yeah. That's what Sean ends up looking like. And basically what he's trying to do is get heat. He tries to suck up heat from the fire, but then he gets cold again. He goes to a doctor, the school nurse, and she's like, "Something's wrong with you, you're really freezing." He touches his head, and he's like, it's warm, so he grabs her hand, and he's able to get the heat out of her, and he freezes up a little more. Tries to ask Chloe out, but then Chloe says no for a minute. Then he asks his girlfriend out. Basically, he gets up from the heat from anyone, but his ex-girlfriend, she's in the shower. We don't see her naked or anything, no, but he goes in there, and he's like, I just want to get warm. He touches her. She tries to get away from her at first because she's scared, and he sucks up the heat out of her and basically just throws it down. He's like, yeah, because he needs to, he just wants to get warmer, and he just wants more and more. He's basically kind of like a parasite in a way. He just wants to get warm. He's like the cold monster that tries to get his hands on everyone, just suck the heat right out of people. And he eventually tries to hook up with tries to do the same thing for Chloe. Chloe eventually is able to find this out about him. They found that he survived in the lake. I think him and Pete found out, I'm not sure. But he's like, oh, I him and Lana find it out. He's like, oh no. And Sean tries to attack Chloe. She falls in the pool in the school. And he freezes the pool to attack her, but Clark comes, pushes him. They will go later, but Sean goes on the run still. Yeah. Meanwhile, Lex wants to talk, since Jonathan and Martha, their farm is in debt. Lex offers him to help him out, but Jonathan, again, doesn't trust him because of his history. And Lex Luthor, people don't really like him or trust him in the show at first. Lex, like I said, he will become on to be the evil man he become, but before that, he is this good guy, this kid who, he's done some dark stuff, he does have a bit of a dark side to him. But Lex tries to do some real good. He tries to not be his father. He lives in his father's shadow, and people either mock him or judge him before they know him, and he's used to that. But he tries to help the Kents out, and meanwhile, Ron and Whitney get into a car crash. I think he was mad at her over a court or something like that. Long hours later, they go over to the Luthor mansion, and Clark sees if he can help out the truck, and then Sean grabs him. He's able to get energy from him, more kind of like his super strength in a way. And Clark is frozen for a while, but he ends up, of course, being fine. Of course, a normal person would die, but Clark would not because of his abilities. He's frozen, but he's able to get unfrozen. And before Sean can attack his mom, attack Martha, Clark shows up and they fight, but he's like, "Oh, I'm not done yet. I'm going to attack your mom and dad, Lana." And he pushes him and pushes Sean into the lake, and Sean gets frozen in the lake. And Sean gets frozen inside of the lake for good. Probably dead, basically, but cool. It was a good episode. I really enjoyed it. And then you have an episode called, another favorite of mine, called Craving. Yeah. This episode, of course, has Amy Adams, who would go on to also, my picture up here, my poster of Man of Steel, yeah, she would go on to play Lois Lane in Man of Steel. But here she plays a girl named Jodie Melby, who is a girl who is tired of just being overweight. She works in a farm with her father. She tries to come up with a diet. She gets out of this point. She's able to make this water, this green, nice looking water, to help her lose weight. But it's got green meteor rocks in it, and now it works. But you feel bad for her because this one guy named Dustin makes fun of her, and he kind of likes her, even though she's a bit overweight, likes her. And when Dustin throws the basketball at the water, throws the basketball in his face, which I can't blame him because he was being a jerk. But she wants to make herself skinnier, so Jodie takes the water. She goes down a little more and says, "Jodie, you look great." She takes it a bit more. Eventually, she becomes really skinny, like she doesn't want to. But the bad side effect is that it's meteor-infected vegetables that she takes. But with it, she becomes she does get what she's always wanted to be, really skinny, but she eventually becomes really hungry and just starts eating everything, starts chomping down on everything, and the refrigerator just goes crazy with all the food. She goes out to eat for some more food. She runs over a deer by accident and basically decides to eat the deer. Yes, literally. There's another picture I can show you here in the Craving episode. Yeah. Yeah. Picture right there. That big mouth she gets out, she basically eats the deer. Yeah. She still craves food. She just eats constantly. Even Clark and Chloe are like, "Bro, you need to slow down there a little bit." She flirts with a guy named Dustin who was mean to her before, decides to attempt to seduce him, basically just to get revenge, and takes her revenge on him and try to eat him. Clark eventually can x-rays this and see what she's doing. Doesn't know it's her, but uses super speed. Dustin's face is all messed up and creepy looking, but he saves him. Yeah. And they're also preparing for the dance. But meanwhile, Lex becomes interested in the effects of the meteor rocks. I think you meet Dr. Hamilton, I think played by a guy named Joe Morton. I'm not sure, but it was the actor in Terminator 2 Judgment Day, responsible for creating Skynet, I believe. Or the cause of it, I'm sorry. But anyway, he plays Dr. Bill Hamilton, who studies these meteor rocks. They call him Meteor Freak. And Lex becomes interested in studying the meteors himself. He's able to kind of blackmail him into working for him. But Jodie eventually is going to go with Pete to the dance, but she starts eating. She's like, "Pete, go away," and Pete wants to help her out. He won't go away, so she pushes him down. Is going to eat him. Clark shows up. She goes in the barn, in the farm facility where the plants are at. Clark goes to say, "Jodie, where you at?" And there's a green meteor rock which Clark starts bleeding. She starts hitting him with a shovel. And she's like, "Clark," she's like, "Wait, this isn't me. What have I become?" She's like, "I gotta end it all." And she starts attacking. that Lana also has a birthday party in the episode, which Clark helps prepare her for. And he has to miss it because he has to save his friend. Jodie ends up alright, but gets help she needs. But Clark ends up getting her a makeshift prison in a drive-in theater, complete with the Bugs Bunny cartoon, which she liked watching when she was a little girl. And it was a little fun. It was adorable seeing the two together, watching Bugs Bunny and stuff, watching Looney Tunes, just having a good time. Now, it was a good episode. I enjoyed it. Also kind of an episode about, I could be a little fat too, but no matter how you look, hey, we all love to eat, sometimes we can be overweight. Just getting off there a little bit. But anyway, another favorite of mine episode is called Jitters. Yes. Where an ex-employee named Earl Jenkins, who, which is a meter works, it gives him the jitters. He just does this a little bit, has this bad shake. He accidentally kills a guy. He goes, tries to see his baby and his wife, but he loses his job. And we also found out he was friends with the Kents, that he'd known Jonathan for a while, and tried to teach Clark Kent how to play the guitar. But he kills a guy with by accident. Jonathan and Mark are going to go have an anniversary. So they go to a restaurant, stay in a hotel a few days in Metropolis. Clark stays at home. Eventually goes to a party. Earl Jenkins shows up at the party, and they take him to the hospital. Clark, I thought it was funny. Clark tries to use his super speed to clean up, and his parents are like, because they're already there. And it's like, you're in trouble for this, Clark, you're on the ground for this. But when they tell him about Earl Jenkins being there, Earl says that there is a level 3, and of course it said, Luther Corp does not have a level 3. It doesn't exist. It's like, it does exist, it does, I'm telling you. And since nobody will believe him, Lex won't even believe him because I said, there is no level 3. They keep telling him that. But eventually he fights the causes, so Clark and the other teenagers are having a school trip to Luther Corp, and Earl breaks in. He's like, yes, and I was like, where is it? And decides to get a gun, and of course, uses his own Chloe's father and kidnaps the kids, and the cops have to come in, the SWAT, and of course, Lionel Luther. John Glover, while in the show, he's not really one of the main stars of the show at first. I mean, he does become one of the main cast members of the show, but not in season 1. In season 1, he just makes guest appearance, like I said in the pilot, and in this episode, Jitters. But he shows up and he says, Lex, what's the situation, Lex? And tells him what's going on. I was like, yeah, it's a level 3. There is no level 3. It doesn't exist. It's like, is there a level 3 dead? And he's like, because Lionel, of course, has some secrets there. A lot more going on there, which Lionel knew about. Of course he wouldn't tell Lex about it. Because he doesn't really love his son. He just sees his son as a kind of a threat to his empire a little bit, but wants to teach Lex to be as ruthless as him. But anyway, with the hostage situation, Lionel is able to tell Lex to get into there. He's like, okay, well, it's your plan, your responsibility. So Lex goes in there, tells her, I'll help you out, I'll shoot take level 3, and eventually Clark is able to find level 3. He's like, come on, or I'll show you. And they see that there's level 3, but everything is gone. Apparently Lionel had everything disappeared from it. Earl gets mad, but eventually shakes, and then on top of this, I'll tell you what. Well, they almost end up in an accident, almost falling into Clark. Can't use his powers, but saves them from these rails, which they're about to fall off these rails. Clark ends up saving him, Earl, and him, and they get, of course, Earl the help he needs. And his Clark's like, glad you're okay, Clark. And Lex, he was mad at his dad. Like, there was a level 3 the whole time. I was like, yes, but it was not. You were not needed to know that. And the camera show up, and Lionel pretends like this love for Lex, and he hugs Lex. He's like, yes, come on. Gives him a hug, spouse him, just for the cameras. And Lex kind of looks over at Clark, Martha, and Jonathan. He sees that Clark is just has these loving parents that he doesn't have. And you see his jealousy on the look on his face that his father doesn't love him. He's just hugging him because of the cameras, just putting on a show. And Les just can't stand that. But it was a good episode. I did enjoy Jitters a lot. Yeah. And then another favorite episode of mine called Rogue. Yeah, Rogue. We have a dirty cop named Sam Villain who was at the beginning beating a guy up, trying to blackmail a guy. What he does, Sam Villain is this metropolis police officer, but he's a dirty cop. He tricks people out of stuff. He sets you up. He plants evidence. He blackmails people into doing illegal stuff for him. Clark is at a museum that night, thanks to Lex, sees this Alexander breastplate, and, that was jewels on it. He ends up seeing, you have Kelly Brook in this episode, who plays Victoria, who, of course, probably dated Lex then, and her father owns a business, and is rich just like Lionel is. Clark uses his ability to save a bus driver who, the bus driver has a heart attack, almost runs over a homeless man. Clark uses powers, but Filling sees this and decides to blackmail Clark. And first, throws like a weapon on him or something. Throws something on Clark, I forget. And he's like, "You're going to do this job for me." And Jonathan decides to start failing himself and says, "You're going to stay away from my family, Phelan. You hear me? You're going to stay away." And eventually he won't. He says something to him, and Jonathan nearly, grabs Phelan. He's about to punch him, but he's like, "Oh, Mr. Kent, you better calm down." He's like, but Jonathan decides not to do that because it'd be wrong to do. But eventually he comes up to Clark and he's like, "Phelan, leave me alone." Phelan wants to get some files, so Clark double-crosses him by throwing the file cabinet onto his truck and gets him in trouble. I was like, "What?" And then Phelan sets his father up for murder, puts a body in the barn, and accuses his father of it. Clark is mad, punches a wall in the house and almost kills Phelan. And Phelan's like, "Okay, this is what you're going to do. You help me, and I'll get your dad out of the situation." He's like, you do see him talk to Lex a little bit. That him and Lex, of course, we find out later so that they had a history together. That he had done some stuff for Lex and his father, some of the dirty work he had done for them, cover-ups basically. Anyway, he wants to sell the Alexander Great chest price, so he gets Clark to do that. Clark sees the man out there. Clark throws. He's like, "We're gonna make a great team, kid." But he puts the Alexander breastplate in this bag. Clark throws it out there. The cops coming up. I was wondering if Superman's bulletproof, but Clark doesn't know he's bulletproof until Phelan starts shooting at him. He doesn't get injured. Martha and Jonathan get the injuries later, but he's like, Phelan starts shooting at the security guards. Security guards shoot him down. Before he dies, Lex is like, "Phelan, what did you have on Clark? What did you have on him?" He's like, "Go to hell, Luthor." And then Phelan dies due to his injury. But Clark wants to prepare next time, just in case. You found out that Victoria Harwood, Kelly Brook, who, like I said, her father and Lex's father, Lionel, have been in business and against each other. So her father is trying to use her to seduce Lex to get to their company, but they said to maybe work together. So yeah, Rogue. Yeah, good episode though. I enjoyed Rogue a lot. It's an interesting episode to see that somebody could blackmail Clark and expose him. Then what would it be like if he was exposed though? If his powers were exposed, how would the world feel about it? Yeah. And then another favorite episode of mine called Leech, where Sean Astin plays in this episode. I think he was in the X-Men films. Yeah, he played Bobby Drake, Iceman in the X-Men films. And he was in the following, but I think he has a twin brother as well. Let's see, what was the episode? Leech, where pretty much it takes place during a class field trip where you have this kid named Eric Summers, who his father was a teacher, but his father was a little mean to him. He has, of course, a crush on this girl, but can't get her because of the high school jock has her. He's a bit of a nerd, and he wants to, date this girl, but can't get no chance with her. His father is just really, his dad is just mean as hell to him, and he goes on top of this bridge, like the Hoover Dam, and Clark tries to save him from falling, and Clark gets, as he has him, and he's got this green rock, because Eric found the green meteor rock and has it. Clark gets shot by lightning, like around the chest, and it switches their powers. Clark tries to touch him. He's like, Clark wakes up next morning, he's like, his dad needs to ask him for help to pick up the truck with Clark, because his abilities can just, with one hand, pick up a truck. It doesn't work, so he tries to use two hands, he falls like, I don't know what happened, he's bleeding, he's all muddy. He tried to use super shoes, like, my speed's gone. Maybe this is just a setback when your powers are gone or something. But they don't know. Until Clark finds out that, of course, Eric Summer has the powers. His dad's like, you should have been woken up early for school. I guess his dad abused him. His dad tries to hit him. Of course, he's ever used the power to hit him, not hit his dad, but just grab his arm, stop him. He's like, how'd you do it? You're the science teacher. You figure it out. But anyway, Eric begins to enjoy these powers. He begins working out, he gets 600 pounds on the weight bench. And Clark starts to have a nosebleed and starts to have a cramp, but eventually he gets to play basketball with Whitney and Pete, and he enjoys it. Even though they lose badly, he enjoys it because, even though he lost, he enjoyed playing it because he's never got to be normal. So it was nice to have the episode see Clark, that he finally wanted to be normal, and he got his chance in this episode to be normal, but Eric eventually saves a kid from getting Chloe's bag gets stolen. He stops the thief. The guy tries to stab him with a knife, and he's able to use his strength and pushes the guy down. Everybody sees him as a hero, a Superboy. But eventually, this Superboy becomes a super bad boy because eventually he says stop listening to his dad. He's like, I got the strength to stop you, Dad. Almost hurt his father. And he decides to go up and just ask if she was ask the girl he likes out. Instead of her boyfriend tries to say something, he attacks the boyfriend, scares him, and he just pushes the guy. And then he pushes Clark. He's like, you need to calm down. And he just becomes, like I said, a bad boy. He just starts going crazy with his powers, and he starts to abuse these powers, and eventually starts hurting people, and even Clark himself. Clark can get hurt for a few weeks. He's alive, but eventually he realizes he's got to get his powers back. He gets to talk along a bit more, and he doesn't have to be scared of her green rock anymore, but eventually Clark has to go gain his powers back. He has to get the green rock, the necklace, and is able to use it because Eric is like, I've got all this power now, and nobody is going to nothing will ever stop me. He's like, you're wrong. So there's one of the things will start you. So they have an electric fight again. He attacks Eric. They have, get electrocuted again, and Clark gets his powers back and puts the green mirror back in the box. The box made of lead. And Clark gets his powers back, and of course he ends up going to Belle Reve. Eric almost does. Clark gets his powers back. Meanwhile, the West gets double crossed by Victoria, she was looking up in an episode, the Katniss group or whatever. Basically, a Katniss lab, a lab that they have, but of course, it ends up being fake. Lex is able to turn the tables on them and take their business away from them. My father will be taking over your company, by the way. I'll tell Daddy you said hello, by the way. And Victoria slaps that. Is like, well, you slept me for a good reason. And at the end of the episode, it allows Luther Court to take over the Harvard company. When Lex tells Victoria about it, he tells his father about it, and Lionel's like, I'm proud of you, Dad. And I think Nixon comes up to him with some pictures, or somebody does, I forget, and basically tells him that Lionel was also sleeping with Victoria, which is, see those pictures, like, okay, yeah, but I believe it. But Leech was a good episode nonetheless. It was nice to see Clark to be normal in an episode. And then an episode called Zero, where this episode has to do with Lex. Basically, his past comes back to haunt him. We see him captured in the beginning of the episode, him hanging up on a chain, like chained up like this. and a guy threatening, named G. Ross, when 3 years ago, when the Club Zero, they call Zero Consequences, as a paper it had on it, but, Lex, eventually what happens is, they cover up the story, Phelan is there too, they cover up the story, where he takes this woman out, I forget her name, his ex-fiancée. Lex ends up shooting the fiancée. Shooting this guy named Jude Royce, who is planning to get revenge. Meanwhile, Lana is trying to hire people she's going to own the place, the saloon, because she won the job. She just quit cheerleading and decided to go in the workforce. She's not good at first, but eventually she gets in business with Lex, and Jude Royce eventually starts harassing Lex, and Lex is like, he's still alive? He can't be. He died 3 years ago. He plays these tricks on Lex, like having loud music from the group, start terrorizing Lex. Eventually he kidnaps Lex by tasing him. Tries to kill Lex, but he gets shot himself. You find out the ex-fiance's brother, who was a janitor, who set it all up because, and then Lex tells him little shit that it was his ex-fiancée that shot her husband, or ex-husband, that shot Jude. Where she's like, and the fiancé's brother was like, no, that's not true. And of course Lex comes to save him. Clark jumps in to save him, uses his powers, and of course they could hide it from Lex. But it was a good episode to see, Lex's past, some of the bad stuff he had done, and I thought that was a good way for them to do that. And that he's in Smallville, he's trying to change and become a better person. But overall, it was a good episode. Chloe tries to find out stuff about Clark's adoption. Eventually Clark gets mad at her about it, puts a strain in their friendship. Clark also, in the episode, worries about trusting Lex, about how he is and what the kind of person he is, basically. Wonders if he can trust him, probably. And then an episode called Nicodemus I like as well, another favorite of mine. Yeah, no, sorry for the video being long. What? Kidding me? Nicodemus, anyone here? Oh, there it is. Well, it's an episode of this flower that changes people's behaviors. The episode is basically about this flower that, like I said, it gets on people. When it gets on you, it changes your behavior, it makes you behave in odd ways, very badly. It just makes you kind of have a bad attitude. And you find that in the 1800s, people were acting weird, and the flower just took over the virus, and people started dying from this. And this guy's trying to, stole some samples from Dr. Stephen Hamilton, Joe Morton, who said, steals this plant and gets into a wreck with, and Jonathan Kent, who's playing Jonathan Kent, everybody he's just trying to play the Dukes of Hazzard song. And that was cool that they played that because, like I said, John Schreiner played Bo Duke in the Dukes of Hazzard, so I like that little nod to the Dukes of Hazzard there. But Jonathan goes to save the guy. The thought gets on him. He starts coming home, start acting weird, starts kissing all over Martha, trying to make out with her, and wants to watch football like that, but she don't like watching football. He tells Lex what he thinks of him, that he's dirt and he doesn't trust him at all, and this upsets Lex, and he wants to make out more with his wife, and he's in debt with his mate a little bit. He's like, I will go up there and shave my face. He's driving like a madman, goes up there with a shotgun and to go shoot the people in the bank or something like that. And Clark's like, Dad, don't do this. And he shoots Clark by accident. He's like, he didn't mean to shoot him, but it doesn't hurt Clark, and he passes out. And Jonathan ends up in the hospital finding that this can kill him. So Clark has to find out to take it over. And it gets on Lana as well. And Lana, at first, she's just like really sexy, like, she breaks up with Whitney, which upsets him because Whitney's been distant for a while because you find out that his father has been sick, with cancer, and so he's been going through a bad time. But Lana's like, I'm tired of you ignoring me, I'm done with you. So she says to hook up with Clark, and they go to the school pool, and she kind of does a striptease for him. Well, doesn't get naked, and it just gets her, in a bra and stuff, and jumps in the water. It's like, come on, Clark. They share a kiss, but the principal Lana shows up. He's caught with the water. Clark is suspended for it. Lana starts even trying to flirt with Lex and just steals his truck. His car. And after that, she's like, Clark, do you love me? Do you like me at all? And eventually she passes out too. And then Pete gets it because Chloe and Pete end up trying to investigate it. Pete gets the flower on him, and because of that, it's like, Chloe, you're always with Clark. You're always with Clark. You're that. He eventually, I was on that Pete, always had a crush on Chloe, but I guess she never had anything for him back. And he decides to go kill Lex because he's tired of his friendship with him. So he gets a gun and says to go kill him. He does go point a gun at him, but point a gun at Lex and Dr. Hamilton, who have found a cure for the disease of the deadly flower. But Pete doesn't want to listen. He starts shooting at them. Hamilton gets away. Clark pretends not like Lex, and then he passes, hits Pete in the head or something. Not too far, passes him out. He's like, where I get him out? And originally in an episode they're able to get everybody help. So, yeah, but a good episode in my opinion. Definitely enjoying Nicodemus. I like the point of that flower that it can, brings people's behaviors out and some truth. Like Lana saying that she was tired of being the innocent little girl that everybody felt bad for and just wanted to take control of her life. So, the whole thing with Jonathan and Pete, how they feel, it just kind of brings out your emotions, but in a bad way. And then an episode called Stray. Stray is about a kid named Ryan James. He's a young boy who can read minds, and he's with his stepfather and his stepfather's wife, who are robbers. They shoot a man, they kill an innocent man. Ryan decides to run away, gets hit by Martha accidentally, runs over and doesn't kill him, but he gets him to the hospital. We find out he gets abused later. Him and Clark decide to confront. Clark becomes like a big brother to him. He starts saying like weird things about like Lex and Lana and Chloe likes you and all that stuff, and Chloe's like, how can you read mind stuff about people? Eventually he's able to find out Clark's secret. He's like, Clark, don't worry, I won't tell anybody, and gives Clark a hug. And you see that, Clark becomes a big brother to him. But meanwhile his stepfather and his sister and his wife start looking for him. They do chase him in the town. He gets trapped in a trash truck, almost killed, but Clark saves him. When he finds out Clark's brother, he's like, Clark, you're the only one that can help me. But his stepfather and the wife and his wife find him. They pretend to be child services. They come kidnap him, and Clark says, he's got to go help him. And so they kidnap Lex and get his money. They get in his limousine, and he's able to get the coats turned against each other. The stepfather eventually kills his wife to get all the money for himself. He's going to kill Ryan finally, but Ryan just killed Ryan with a shotgun. Because Ryan's in the bowling alley, he's like inside of the bowling pins, kind of like inside of the area, and he's going to shoot him with a shotgun until Clark grabs a bowling ball, throws it, and saves him. And then Ryan, at the end of the episode, gets adopted by his aunt, and he tells Clark, you know how Lana really feels about you? He's like, I like to find out for myself. He's like, be careful of Lex, he has a dark side, as he warns Clark. And Clark's like, I'll be aware of that. Stray. And then an episode called Reaper. Yes, this episode is about a guy named Tyler Randolph who, at the beginning, his mother is like really sick, and his mother asks him to put her out of her misery, to kill her. He gets a pillow, tries to do it, but he just can't do it. And he freaks out. The security comes to arrest him. He freaks out, he falls out the window, dies. Eventually gets a meteor rock on him. And this meteor rock brings him back to life as the doctors or medical examiner, I can't speak, going to do autopsy on him. He comes back to life and touch people. When he touches you, you basically just die. You turn to a skeleton and you crush and you die. Yeah, basically, when he touches you, you incinerate and die. Meanwhile, Clark and Martha decide they're going to help the elderly people out by giving them food and stuff. They go visit this old woman, and, basically Randall believes that he's been given a gift to help people out of the misery if they're suffering, to help basically decide if they decide their fate. Basically, help them die. He does this to this old lady and, kills a poor dog, which I don't like that, but they didn't show that, thank God. But he tries to almost nearly attack Martha, but just by accident. He tries to touch Clark. Clark can feel like electric him, but he can't really kill Clark because of his abilities. Clark pushes him away. Wendy's father is dying, so Charles does to help put his father out of his misery. Thinking he's helping, he attacks Wendy, he's like, look, Clark, you can't stop me. He's like, yes, I will. He's like, that's not up to you, Tyler. Your mother's still alive. When he shows him his mother, and Tyler feels bad for what he did, and he's like, he can't, I become this way. What did I do? I killed innocent people, and he's like, then I can't live like this, and eventually he claps his hands together and kills himself. And Clark's like, Tyler, no! Sadly, he couldn't help him. And I like the episode Reaper because, it is about life and death kind of an episode about that you can't really control somebody's fate, or it's not really up to you if one person can die. That's what I felt the episode was about. And you feel bad for Talia. You can say he's the villain of the episode, but I felt he's probably the only one in the show that I felt sympathy for, because his mother asked him to kill her, he didn't want to do that. And with his gift of doing that to people, he think he was doing them a favor, but he was actually murdering them. He just thought he was helping them. And when he realized he was doing something wrong, takes them life, which I thought that was sad. I felt sad for him. But it was a good episode. I liked it. But Reaper was good. Yes, guys, I know. 1 hour and 7 minutes. Yes, I know. And then another episode favorite of mine called Crush. An episode, after a hit-and-run accident, a guy named Justin Gaines used the abilities of telekinesis. His doctor, who's a jerk, who didn't want to help save him at all, he kills this doctor in the elevator. He goes back to Smallville to basically date Chloe, and Chloe, who does like Clark, eventually realizes this. He goes, if you take your long goggles off, you realize that she likes you. And he tries to like her back, and she kind of just ignores Clark and tries to go with him. Her and Chloe and Justin eventually kiss. She learns about his powers, and when they find out the person who runs him over, eventually it was Principal Kwan who ran him over. So, in revenge, Justin uses his telekinesis powers and attacks Principal Kwan and uses his telekinesis powers, to get his car to crush and kill him. But later you find out that it was his son driving, and eventually Chloe finds this out, and feeling betrayed, Justin decides to use his telekinesis powers to kill Chloe, but Chloe eventually shows up to save her. He's like, you can't win, Justin. He's really Clark faster, but Clark is faster. He's able to just push him over, and she cries, and this is where, at the end of the episode, where Chloe and Clark start winning the day, and Lana looks at this, and she's kind of upset by this. I guess you can say, in a way, she does like Clark as well, but of course they're still dating Whitney, so, because they decided to become just friends. But it's a little difficult because she does like him too. But when Clark says date Chloe eventually, good episode though. At the end of the episode, Whitney's father, who's been battling heart problems, dies at the end. But he did see, Whitney, who loves playing football, played for the Metropolis Sharks a little bit. His father had to see it. He dies of a heart attack, and the funeral was definitely sad to watch. I wish they didn't play no music in it. I'm like, why you gotta play music in a funeral? It's never like that. Alright, there's two more guys, and one called Absorb. I can't say it right. This basically is an explosion a meteor explosion that hits Lana, and Lana gets the ability to kill his eyes. And while Lana's at the hospital, freaked out about it, she's able to see through killer eyes, and Chloe gets kidnapped by this killer, and who has her, is going to bury her. Chloe eventually has to save Lana. Save Chloe. And he stays at the hospital with her. Lana's still somewhat jealous of their relationship, but walks away. And, she tries to tell the cops about the kidnapper as well, but they don't believe her, and she's nuts. You find out that it's actually a cop who wants to be the best cop ever in the town, wants to be the greatest cop ever, so he's basically in his twisted, psychopathic mind, he wanted to kidnap Chloe and to rescue her. Now his plan is to kill Lana and solve her murder after murdering her, solve it himself, and become a great cop. So, eventually Clark is able to stop him. He tries to shoot Clark, but it doesn't work, and Clark picks him up and just throws him, and the police show up, and they tell the cop to stop, and he's like, tries to shoot the cops, and he himself gets shot down for being the kidnapper. But it was a good episode. Also, Lex learns of the ship that crashed down the meteor shower, and discovers a disc made of an alloy not found on Earth. I also think, he begins to trust, he gives, Jonathan a huge amount of a check, but since Lex starts investigating where the meteor shower comes from, the spaceship comes from, Jonathan gets mad and gives him the check back. And him and Dr. Hamilton are working on this. They have a piece of Clark's ship, and that radio, it basically activates the ship, but Clark is like, and also Lex in the season also, a guy named Dominic who's been watching him for his father, and Lex eventually puts the guy in his truck and says, Dad, next time you're going to play ball with me, you better bring your A game or something like that. He's like, Lex, I'm very proud of you. And Lex to the guy and just sprays him, just closes the trunk. Because what the Luthor is with Lex and his father, it's not really love, it's more like war. As he teaches Lex that strategy of war, and that's all life is. Just war, not about love. Just to be ruthless, That's why I see Lionel kind of teaching his son to be ruthless and you gotta do whatever it takes to get what you want, because it's always just about business, but just to be ruthless out of it. But anyway, Absorb, good episode. And then the last episode I like, the final episode of this season, Tempest, where Lionel Luthor at the beginning closes the Smallville plant because he is angry that Lex refuses to come back to Smallville, to Metropolis to live with him. But he wants to do it because, again, I do get Lex's point that his dad is just jealous of probably him, just doesn't like him, because his son's probably becoming a little better than him, and he's starting to get jealous of that. That's the way I kind of see it. And he's like, Lionel Luthor goes to the plant himself, they throw a meeting to everybody doing what you did, like, and this plant is getting shut down, I'm sorry, but you're all fired. And they're like, what? People get mad. And these people have found wars and like, Lex, this is business. This is not a charity. We do not run a charity. You're not in this to make friends. This is business. You've got to be ruthless. But meanwhile, you also have Chloe and Clark, who eventually going to go to the dance together. Wendy decides to go join the military. In respect, because his father was in the military, so he figured that would be maybe a future for him. He has a little dance with Lana at the end, which was nice. And Lex decides to try to infiltrate his father and get the business out, but he's like, oh, I bought that bank in Smallville, so if you do, I can take their checks. The mortgage owner was like, if you're going to play hardball with me, son, you better bring a big old game with you. You better bring a big ball then. If you're going to play hardball with me, son. There's also a sword fight that Lex and Lionel wins. He's like, Lex, you were controlled by your emotions, that's your problem. Your emotions just make you weak. Now fire your employees. And so Lex can't do nothing about it. Chloe and Clark have a nice dance. Yeah. Sorry. I know this is a long video, but yeah. Little nice dance there. And Then, of course, tornadoes come. But meanwhile, Roger Nixon, who has been interested in Clark this whole time, eventually in the episode he blows up a truck that Clark is in. Of course, Clark, with his abilities, just walks out of the truck fine without a scratch. And he gets a videotape of this, goes to the storm cellar where they keep Clark's ship. But the tornado comes down. Sorry, I just go everywhere with my videos sometimes. It's almost like a review, I just go everywhere a little bit. But Nixon is taping the is using his camera to tape the ship, and he's like, I'm going to expose your son to Jonathan. Jonathan attacks him. He's like, I'm not going to let him ruin this film. He goes chasing him. And Martha sees that when Nixon put the chip on the ship, that it made it come to life, and she's like, wow, he kind of smiles at it. And it will affect her sometime later in season 2. But anyway. And Clark has to go save Lana. And she says, so she's like, Clark, and it ends there. And it also ends with at the Luthor Mansion where Lex and Clark have an argument. I mean, not Lex and Clark. Lex and Lana have an argument. He's like, you're trying to take my business away from me. You're just stealing everything from me. That's just great, Dad. He's like, you're my son. You're not my enemy, And eventually an accident happens. Lana gets trapped under debris where Lex can save him, but Lex kind of just stares for a minute. He's going to let him die. Eventually he's about looking for it. He's about to let him die, but he helps his dad, even though he's got blood all over his eye. The episode ends with Clark going to save Lana from the tornado. Her truck goes up, and he's like, no, and he jumps up there, and then it says to be to continue, and then the season ends. We're not done yet, guys. Just at least. Alright, the episodes that are okay. Not a lot, by the way. An episode called Hourglass, where Clark meets another blind woman named Cassandra Carver, who has these visions abilities. Basically, she can see somebody's future. She does kind of see into Clark's future of, Clark has a vision of everyone he loves dead, just like graves and names around him, and this scares him. Meanwhile, you have a guy named Harry Bolson, who you find out is a guy named Harry Volk. Whatever, yeah. Basically ends up in this pond that has meteor rocks, and it makes him younger. You also find out that Harry was a serial killer. Well, he was a pianist, he was good at playing the piano until someone ruined his future, and he got caught by a jury for killing, and he decides to ruin people's future. He's like, they killed my dream, so I'm going to kill their son. So basically he goes after the victims' children, their descendants, and murders them. And soon it's also played by Eric Christian Olsen, who will also go play LAPD Deeks, Marty Deeks in NCIS LA. And it was played Lord Christmas and Dumb and Dumber when Harry met Lloyd. I hate that movie. But anyway, he's good in here as a serial killer. He's definitely creepy. I just thought the episode was alright. I do like the whole thing with Lex battling about his future, telling this when he's like, I decide my own fate. She sees Lex's fate and dies from it. This is what I wanted to show off really quick. I'm going to read it to you guys. Oh my god. Sorry, freaking phone. I'm going to kill this thing. Yeah, I was going to say that. But basically, this is kind of what she sees in Lex Luthor's future. See the raining blood and the dead bodies behind him. You can kind of see a little bit. Basically, hinting that Lex Luthor destiny will be as a murderous monster. Basically, Lex sees this as, though she sees a vision of Lex in the White House, basically as he's the President of the United States in this future, that will bring great misfortune amongst the human race. Has come in when a mere touch from his right hand's black glove, he has a black glove, which you see at the end of the series, turns into a entire field of flowers into one bones and ash, with Lex simply smiling as he showered it by a rain of blood. It's clear to him whatever Cassandra's soul produced too much shock for her to release up, resulting in her unexpected demise. I heard it was in the comics or something that Lex Luthor does wear a black glove. due to his exposure to kryptonite, when he uses it against Superman eventually, and at the end of the show. But anyway, you do see the Black Glove in the future for Lex, and eventually, yes, I hate to say it, he does become that murderous monster. But after Cassandra dies, he's like, somebody help me, doctor, and he's like just freaked out and just scared of what she saw. He didn't know what she saw. She couldn't tell him. He didn't know she was dead. So, she just passed. But it was a good episode for Clark to see his future, and she says, Clark, that's your future, to help people. Basically, to become a hero. Superman. But, that was interesting. But overall, there were just a lot of these episodes that I liked. They were my favorites. I liked more than that, but that's just me. Then an episode called Shimmer. Let's see. You have a girl who is obsessed with Lex, and Amy Palmer. She's like has an obsession with Lex. She lives with Lex. She's jealous of Victoria, who was kind of staying with Lex, his girlfriend, at their Kelly Brook. But you find out her brother, who can disappear, turn invisible, starts attacking people who disrespect his sister. Attacks one kid with dumbbells and tries to drown Victoria. Clark sees that Victoria is looking up the Cadmus labs, and Lex knew about that already, but Clark feels bad. Not feels bad, but eventually they find out that Amy has a real bad obsession, a dangerous obsession, and she's got pictures of him everywhere, like in a box, in a cabinet, pictures of Lex everywhere, that she's in love with him, and he can't feel for that way for her, because she's too young. Eventually her brother tries to kill Lex. Is able to attack Clark a little bit. Clark is eventually able to get him and take him down. But it was an alright episode. And then an episode called Hug, which you have a guy named Bob Rickman, who pretty much has the meteor power of basically convincing people to do what he wants, or to do a business deal. He shakes your hand. He can convince you to do something for maybe like a few minutes, or maybe like 2 hours, or whatever the person tells him to. And of course you have this other guy. He plans to put a new pesticide plant in Smallville, and he's a Kent farm, so he uses his ability on Jonathan Kent to convince him to sell the farm. Then you have a guy named Kyle, Kyle's lived in the woods. You find out that they were friends together, that during the meteor shower they got into a car wreck and started using these abilities, but Kyle thought it was wrong, and of course Bob wanted to continue it, so they just didn't become friends. Their friendship was torn apart, and he still of course wants to own Smallville, and he's able to convince Lex, use his abilities on Lex, to eventually kill Kyle and Clark. Lex, sees Clark use his powers under the spell, under Rickman's spell, tries to gets the machine gun, tries to kill Clark, doesn't work, but Lex won't eventually remember. Rickman decides to go kill Clark and Kyle himself, but Kyle sneaks up behind him and is able to use his power on himself, and gets Bob Rickman to kill himself. But it was an alright episode. You do also have their power persuasion, which I thought was interesting, and they also, Kyle is able to test it on Chloe, and it was like, you like Clark, show him how you feel. And she kisses all over Clark, which I thought was funny. And she's like, okay, I'm ready, but overall it was an alright episode. Okay. And then an episode called Connecticut, where you have these three jockers who use tattoos, basically using the ability to go through solid joggers and rob places. They try to rob Lex's mansion, doesn't work. Eventually they find this disc that Lex is planning to steal some, I guess. They blackmail Lex, I think, because he's trying to take some of the Cadmus labs from his dad, from Lionel, and they blackmail Lex to give him some money, or they're going to send it to everybody, including his dad. And Lex doesn't want that. Wendy joins him because Wendy's going to go time with his dad, so he decides just to party with them and join them. And when he realizes what they're doing, he doesn't like them. And eventually, Wendy has made a mistake. He eventually goes to Lana and Clark and tells him he needs help. They try to help him out, to get the disc for Lex. Clark ends up destroying the disc, and they try to kill Clark. Well, Clark cannot take these robbers on because since their body is laced with the green meteorite, well, the kryptonite, if you will, the green kryptonite, when they attack him, they can kill him if they wanted to. Because Chloe does get hurt, but she goes to the hospital, but she ends up being okay at the end of the episode. But it was a decent episode. I thought it was okay. I don't mind the character, but I'm not a big fan. And the episode I thought was just alright. That's just my opinion. And then the last episode I thought that was okay was an episode called Drone, where you say it's these students running for class elections, class presidents. You have this one girl named Sasha Woodman who has the ability to control bees. She uses these bees to attack her opponents, to put people in the hospital. Attacks one kid. Clark decides to run for president, even though Chloe supports him, but doesn't feel like he's a good choice, which Clark gets mad at her about. Excuse me. They're able to find out about Sasha doing this. And, she's like, Clark, no matter what, you can't stop me. And she kind of makes a threat to her. Clark's like, well, Clark, you're making a big mistake. And Clark's like, that sounds like a threat. Clark is like, Sasha, you need to stop this. Eventually, the bees, kind of see her as the queen, I guess you can say, and they'll do whatever it takes to please her. Eventually, they turn on her, and her place blows up, because Clark, he's also able to use his powers to freeze the bees, and also to burn them up. They nearly attack Martha, but Martha ends up being okay as Clark saves her. Yeah, I didn't care for the whole thing that it was about politics. I don't know. I just don't really. I thought this episode was okay. It was just mad because I'm like, the girl was just kind of geeky, and I'm like, control bees. I'm like, really, I didn't find that very much exciting. And the whole being political episode, I'm like, I didn't care about that. I mean, I just don't care about politics too much. I'm not a political person, but that's just me. I don't really care about politics. But overall, I thought the episode was okay. I didn't think of Sasha as much as a threat. I can say she was with the bees, but I'm like, I didn't find her that interesting. I thought a lot of the villains in the show were more interesting than her, but that's just my opinion. But it was alright. Alright, guys. I know this was a long video, but I am done. Yes, that is it. Well, yes. Well, guys, it took a while to watch these. So, but anyway, the complete first season of Smallville, I loved it. I thought this was really good. Problems, like I said, some of the episodes I thought were okay. That I mentioned, I wasn't a big fan of them. But a lot of episodes I do love. I like the story. I like how they changed it up a bit. I like seeing the origin of Clark Kent in his younger days before he became Superman. It's basically a really good prequel in my opinion. I think Tim Mullins does a good job. John Scheidner, Antonio Full, Christian Kroeg, Sam Jones, Michael Rosenbaum, Alex and Mack, they all do a good job in here. I love this cast. I think they're really good. And I love that theme song, Somebody Save Me, Somebody Save Me by Remney. Awesome song in my opinion. I will say some of the special effects, the CGI does not hold up. It has not aged well. It does not look very good. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it does not age well. It doesn't look very good, the CGI in here. So, yeah. Just doesn't hold up very well. Has not aged well in my opinion. But it is a TV show, and TV shows don't have big budgets as movies, because, with each episode, I guess, it costs more and more money. They probably just didn't have a big budget for the effects as you would for a movie. But overall, it's not the worst thing ever. Effects, it's still a really good season. I just like how it all started. Now, after I get more into the season, you do get more characters, you get more storylines, you get different stories, you get more characters bringing into the show, which I like. The show had good writing in my opinion. I like Clark and Lana's relationship, that she was his first love. Tom Welling did a great job as Clark Kent. And when the drama's there, it's good in my opinion, because I cared about the characters, I care about them, And I thought the episodes were entertaining. It was see Clark cool to get his powers. Eventually, the only new part he got here, he does have super strength and super speed, but he does get X-ray vision. He does get more powers throughout the seasons. And they evolve more storylines in the seasons, and a lot more interesting stuff happens in Smallville. So overall, it was a really good prequel. I like that they brought a story. I forgot again who created the show. Alfred Guff and Mark Miller. Let's see. Maybe that's what their names were. Some of it was filmed with Frank Kilmer in Los Angeles, but it's a really enjoyable season in my opinion. 20 episodes. It feels really good. Mark Rosenbaum, in my opinion, he's my favorite Lex Luthor. I mean, I like seeing Lex before he became evil, and when he becomes evil, he really becomes evil. But I thought he was definitely, to me, Mark Rosenbaum was like the dark Lex Luthor. You know, he's not trying to be Gene Hackman. He's his own Lex Luthor and his own version. I think he did a really good job. He is a lot better than Jesse Eisenberg, you know, and Kevin Spacey, in my opinion. Kevin Spacey wasn't bad, but he was a little too over the top for me, and he was just trying to be Gene Hackman, and Michael Rosenbaum wasn't. I think he's nearly as great as Clancy Brown and Gene Hackman were, in my opinion, as Lex Luthor. But overall, the show, and I like John Glover was great as Lex Luthor. Like I said, he will become a main character, I think, in season 2, I believe. I think, you know. But throughout the show, he does eventually become a main character, and you do see his character in the opening credits, you know, of the cast. But Smallville, awesome show. Season 1 was really good. I'm going to rate this season 4 out of 5 stars. So, and a thumbs up for Smallville Season 1. So guys, tell me in the comments down below if you bear with me through this long video. Thank you. Sorry for being long. But I'm going to go a little in depth of how much I love this show and how much I think it's awesome. I know some people probably don't like Smallville, and that's okay, but I enjoy it. I love it for what it is. And he doesn't fly, so what? It is an origin story, folks. It is a story about Clark Kent before he became Superman, during his youth years, during his time in Smallville. But because of his time in Smallville, it makes him a hero, makes him Superman, basically. But anyway, we'll get more into Smallville, talking about that. 4 to 5 stars and a thumbs up. So guys, tell me in the comments down below. Do you love Smallville? What do you think of the show in the comments down below? What are your favorite episodes of Smallville Season 1? Please let me know in the comments down below. What do you think of the Smallville show? Do you love it? Do you hate it? And what are your favorite episodes of Smallville Season 1? Let me know in the comments down below. Hopefully this time I do get some people telling me their favorite episodes of the show. Assuming the anime series now, but hopefully this time you guys can tell me if you got any favorite episodes of Smallville Season 1. And if you haven't seen the show, I definitely recommend it. And if it's not for you, then that's cool. You know, I mean, if it's not your cup of tea, that's fine. But Smallville Season 1, awesome in my opinion. I really enjoyed it. Okay. So, yeah. And next... I will be giving my thoughts / favorite episodes next of Smallville Season 2. Yes. So Season 2 will be next. So Smallville Season 2, this will be the next one to get my favorite episodes on. You guys won't say this video's up, but it took long to watch the first season, so this is probably going to be long videos, guys, so probably get used to it with Smallville. So, I gotta go through 10 seasons, but anyway, the second season is next, guys, and let me know in the comments down below, what are your favorite episodes of Smallville Season 1, and what do you think of the show in your opinion. So what are your favorite episodes of Smallville Season 1, guys? Tell me in the comments down below, and I hope you look forward to my next video thoughts and favorite episodes of Smallville Season 2. So definitely stay tuned for that, guys. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And good night, y'all. Or good day, wherever you're at. Thanks for watching. And have a good night. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.